Hello everyone and welcome to Art and Design. My name is Thorgeir and in this video we're going to be doing a beginner's guide to Illustrator on iPad. Let's dive right into it. Alright, so welcome to Illustrator on iPad. So it just released today on the 20th of October 2020. There's some super interesting features to cover. But before we get into that, I want to talk about this screen right here and talk about what all of these buttons and things do and what you can do within this menu. But if you're only interested in what you can do actually when you have created your canvas, then you can check out the time code right over here and go to that place in the video. For those that want to learn more about the entire app from A to Z, well, let's get into it. Okay, so starting off, we are in the home screen right now. And what we see in the home screen are the recent artworks that we've created. Well, we don't have any artworks right now, so there is nothing in the recents. Moving on to the right over here, we see what's coming to Illustrator. And this is basically a dialogue showing us what Adobe is working on. Now, I actually got the opportunity to meet with some of the people who were designing and creating this app. And I can tell you they're super excited about this app and I can absolutely understand why, because there are some great features here. But if you just want to see what's in the pipeline, well, this is it. Sketch to vector, improved precision, variable with strokes, enhanced brushes, effects on appearance, and much more. This is going to change depending on when you watch the video. Maybe in the future there are going to be different things right here, and all of these features will be actually integrated. Okay, so we talked about what's coming to Illustrator. Next one is this one right here. This is basically where you create the artworks, where you create the canvas or the document, whatever you want to call it. The same button is over here for ease of use, because if you're perhaps like over here in this menu, you can always create a new canvas. But let's go ahead and click on this one right here, your work. This is basically just showing you your cloud documents. So if you save a cloud document in Illustrator on the PC or Mac, that's going to be showing up right here. And you can save your documents and open it up on the PC or Mac and save them in the Mac and open it up on your iPad. So it's very nice. You can just, seamlessly switch between applications. And I think that's absolutely fantastic because you don't always want to be tied down to your workstation. Now moving on to the learning section. Now this is a super helpful page where you can get access to video tutorials about how to use the app in various ways. And they also have in-product guides that help you understand how to use these specific features. For example, let's say that you want to learn about how to use text on iPad. Well, simply tap on this one right here. It's going to create a document for you. It's going to guide you through the process of creating text and how to use the text. And it shows you with these animated videos and opens up the dialogue for you and shows you, this one right here. And here you change the fonts and you can do all sorts of stuff, resizing them. Just tap and move this lever right there. And you get the point. Like, it's an in-product help guide within the application. So that is fantastic. I have to applaud them for this. It's not always that you see such a well thought out onboarding experience in an iPad app. So that's fantastic. Well done, Adobe, on this one. Really cool. Anyways, let's move on to Discover. Discover is basically a page meant for discovering other people's art. Some featured artists over here and live streams, which is pretty interesting. So there's some artists which are actually live streaming Illustrator on iPad. That's pretty cool. I haven't seen that integrated in this way in an app before. But let me just briefly talk about the settings now. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but this icon right here opens up the app settings. Here we can configure things like the color theme. The app is probably going to look like this when you open it the first time. I don't like white interfaces. I actually prefer dark, so I'm going to keep it at dark. Anyways, there are a few other options right here. I suggest turning on palm rejection, double tapping. So that's going to be this thing right here. When you double tap on the Apple Pencil, what is that going to do? It's going to open up the color picker, deselect the object or path, switch to the pen tool, zoom to 100% or no action. If you have a problem about Illustrator, if there's something that is bugging you, I don't know if it's crashing for you or something won't save or something like that, please contact the support team, report a bug, or click on the online help right here. Adobe has a support team on hand which are ready to help you if you need any help. So with that all out of the way, let's go ahead and check out the interface itself, the drawing interface. Let's start by creating a new canvas. We do that simply with this icon right here, or as I said earlier, create new. So just tap on this one. I'm actually going to create an A3 canvas. Now I could also just tap on the A3 right here because I've created this one before, and that's going to open up a new canvas like so. So now we are in the interface where most of the magic happens, where you're going to be spending most of your time if you're going to be using this app. Now, before we start anything, I want to mention this icon right here. This is the help menu. And here we can take the tour, we can view gestures, we can view touch shortcuts, or view keyboard shortcuts. We can take the tour, and that's going to bring us back to the learning section, and we can take the in-product tours through there. We can view the gestures, what you can do with the gestures, and here you can see 2 fingers is undo, 3 fingers is redo. We can double tap on a selected object to edit the points. We can scrub, we can remove from toolbar, we can show more options, and zoom and fit. So if you want to fit this canvas into the view, you just sort of do this. So if you're zoomed in all over here and you want to go all the way back, just do this. Super simple. And the touch shortcuts. So this shows you what the secondary button does. That's this one right here. It's dependent on what tool that you have selected. You can see exactly what it does. And yeah, fantastic. This information is readily available within the application. View keyboard shortcuts. These are the keyboard shortcuts that are supported by Illustrator on iPad. This might change in future updates. They might add more keyboard shortcuts in the future. Let's go ahead and start with probably the most iconic tool in Illustrator, which is the pen tool. And let's go ahead and pick a color. Now, I could also just tap on this one right here because I've set this up to show the color picker. I can just tap on any point and start drawing like so. So now I've drawn this very beautiful shape right here on the screen. We can zoom into it like so, just by pinching. And let's say that you didn't want that last one over here. Simply tap with 2 fingers to undo, 3 fingers to redo. Now the keen-eyed among you might have noticed this button right here. Now what this does is, well, it depends on the tool that you have selected. When I have the pen tool selected, if I tap on the button right here, it's going to detach the anchors. So you can see I can make this anchor go this way right now. And once I let go, you can see the anchors now are in different angle compared to if I just do this. You see now they're always tethered, but I can do this and then detach this and do something like this and that. And this also works if you need to edit a point that you've already drawn. If I just tap on this one right here, you can see the other one always follows in the opposite direction. But if I tap on this one, it detaches. So there we go. All right, so now we've created our first vector blob, I guess. And we can just zoom into this pretty much forever to see this is just infinite detail because these are vectors. So now let's tap on this icon right here. Tap anywhere on the object itself and that moves it around. We can scale it like so. And if you want to maintain the aspect ratio, well, we tap on the little button right here and that allows you to scale it like so. Rotating, very simple, is this one right here. If you want to rotate it in set increments, you can do like this, 45-degree increments. Now the next thing I want to talk about is this menu right here. Now this is what I call the contextual controls for this object. So for example, if you want to edit the opacity of this object, make it more or less transparent, that's this one right here. You can just tap and hold and drag it up and down, and that's going to increase or decrease the opacity. Just super useful. You can also tap on it and move this slider. But another way to control the opacity is by tapping here and going into opacity and then editing this. So this is the property panel of this object. And here we can, set the width and the height and the rotation, set the fill color to something else, make it red, for example, or pick a color anywhere on the canvas. We can edit the stroke. We can change the blend mode, obviously opacity, the way the stroke is, if it's straight or dotted, and a few other options on the bottom right here, which I'll maybe talk about a little bit later. But now that we have a black stroke on it, we can take a look and see, yeah, there's the stroke. It's very faint. Maybe we need to make it a little bit more apparent. So I'm going to tap on the object and I'm going to tap and hold on this menu right here. And I can increase or decrease the stroke width very simply like so. Let's actually finish this Now we have this beautiful blob on the screen. It's red and it's black and it's absolutely beautiful. But what if we don't want it red and black? What if we want a gradient? Well, very simply, we can go into the color menu and we go into gradient. And now there are a few gradient options over here. We can have a linear gradient like so, which goes from one end to the other. And we can control where the meeting point is between them. So that's pretty cool. We can also add more points along the way. Make this one pink and make it very sharp over here. Add another point here. Let's make that blue. And yeah, get the point. It's a linear gradient. We can play with this as we need. Another option over here, we have a circular gradient or a radial gradient. Oh, that's a mouthful. But that just puts one point in the middle, and you can increase or decrease the size of the radial gradient in this way. Now, the next one is actually pretty cool. And this is a spot gradient. And so very simply, if you just tap anywhere, you create a gradient, and you can increase or decrease the size and intensity of the gradient like so, and simply pick a color. Let's do sort of purplish color over here. Let's create another gradient over there, and let's pick something on the opposite side. So maybe greenish, maybe not. Let's do orange. Yeah, I like orange. Let's just have this very slight. We can move it around there. And how about some pink? Let's add a bit of pink there, something like that. And in the end, we'll have a bit of cyan. And I think you get the idea. Very easy to set up. And yeah, absolutely fantastic. Now we got a 4-point spot gradient on this object. Super easy to set up, super easy to configure. If you need to edit any of these points, you just go into the color over here, and then you can just reposition things as you need. Super useful, and there's so much to talk about within just the color menu right here. Now they have bunch of color palettes over here. You can check out the Pantone color palettes, Toyo 94, HKS, Focal Tone, all of that, or you can access the color palettes that you have in your own cloud library. So if you have color palettes saved in your Adobe Cloud library, then you can access those here. But what I want to talk about next is in no particular order. I want to mention this because this is super freaking cool. Now if we tap on this icon, we can see this is the repeat menu. Now we can do a mirror repeat. We can change where the mirroring point happens. We're just going to reposition this a little bit, something like this. So now we have this interesting looking shape. We can double tap into it. We can adjust things. We can change the rotation and all that sort of stuff, right? Now that's all fine and dandy, but what happens if we take this object and, I don't know, make a grid out of it? We can just zoom out a little bit and increase the grid size. So as you can see, just super easy to create multiplications of a single object like this. And that is just fantastic. Let me just undo all of these changes. So now we have this object again, right? And I'm going to show you what happens if we tap on radial. Ooh. So if we tap and hold on this one right here, we can choose how many instances of this object we want to place on a radial grid in a circle, like so. If we tap on this over here, we can select the number like so. Now I'm going to reduce the size of it a little bit. And let me show you what happens if I double tap into one of these. Now you can see I can just rotate this one individually. Look at that. Tap and hold, you drag, and I don't know, let's do more, right? Let's do a radial on the radial. There we go. Oh my God, this is just fantastic. And I can do the same thing. I can tap into each one of these. If I start moving this around, I could probably do this for hours, but we have to move on with the video and talk about the rest of the contextual controls over here. So this one right here, it very simply allows you to control the position of an object within a stack, or in other words, where this object should appear in the layer order. So let's say we duplicate this a few times. So now we have a few of these, and Whoa, okay. Let me just go ahead and change the color of one of these to something like this. Okay, so we see the red object over here. It's on the top, right? But let's say we want to have it behind this one right here. It's a little bit difficult to see, but let me just show you what happens. So we can just tap and hold on this icon right here, and we can super quickly bring it backwards or forwards in the layers order. So if I let go, you can see this layer now moved from the top to the middle over there. And let's say we have it all the way in the back over there, and it's a little bit difficult to select it. Maybe there's an object on top. Well, in this case, you can use this one right here. So if we tap and hold on that, we can always select just that layer and move only that layer. We won't be selecting any of the other things over here. We can lock it very simply or unlock it. And here we have another icon which is currently disabled. Now, why is it disabled? Let me just hide these. Let's focus on this one right here. So I'm going to select this object and I'm going to tap on this icon right here and do expand. So now this is no longer a radial pattern. This is just a normal layer with all of the components over here. Interestingly, each layer is still a radial, but we can also expand this. So there we go. There we have each individual shape. Now we see the icon is now unlocked. And if we tap on that, you see what actually happens is it ungroups the objects. So if you have a huge group like this, we can group them all together. Now if I select them, now they're all grouped together, right? But I can ungroup them by tapping on this one. Same goes for this object right here. We can ungroup the layers. So now all of the individual shapes can now be selected with a single tap. If we want to put all of these, group them. Yeah, just super easy to group and ungroup things. Very nice. Duplicate, and you get the idea. You duplicate this object. And the final one is delete. And that just simply deletes it. All right, so we talked about a few things now. I've showed you the pen tool over here. Now we also have the pencil tool. And the pencil tool is basically this sort of thing. It just creates a looped path that has 0 width. But you can apply, of course, a stroke on top of this. But this has, in theory, 0 width. But there's another tool over here. It's called the Blob Brush. An interesting name, but all right. It's the Blob Brushes. And these allow you to do a few things. For example, you do cursive writing. And if you want pressure sensitivity, well, you can go to the brush settings over here. And let's do pressure dynamics and make that absolute max. Now, if I press lightly, it'll create sort of thin strokes. And if I press down, it creates thick strokes. Very simple. And of course, we can always tap on these points and we can edit anything as we wish. So that is the power of vectors. Now, let me draw a simple shape with the pencil tool, something like this. You see it's sort of flickering over there. This is the smoothing that is actually taking place. And you can control the smoothing over here and just minimize it if you don't want as much smoothing. So as you can see now, it's much sharper. So now we have this little shape over here. So now if we tap on the node tool and go into the settings over here, we see the contextual controls for the node tool. And these allow you to cut the nodes. Now these are actually separated, or you can turn this into a sharp point. And if I put it over here, you see the little icon over there. If I just tap on that, you see it creates a smoothing between these 2 points. Now, another super useful tool is this one right here. And if we just select any nodes that we want to simplify, we can tap on this one right here. And what this basically does is Illustrator attempts to simplify the shape as much as possible based on the drawing that is already there. So you can simplify this point over there. Now, I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to speed through the rest of the functionality in the app. But if there's any functionality that you want to learn more about, then do let me know in the comments down below. I might just do a separate video about that in the future. So without further ado, let's move on. We have, of course, the eraser tool. I'm not going to mention that too much, but you can just erase parts of the image. and Illustrator will do its best to redraw the curves based on what you erased. You have the basic shapes over here, the circle, the square, the triangle, the star. We have the text tool right here, and this is pretty cool because, you know, I can just do something like this. I can resize the text by tapping and holding on this one right there. And now if I select both layers, the shape that we just drew and the text, and if we go into this icon right there and we do type on path, what that's going to do is it's going to use the path and draw the text onto the path. Just move the text along the path. Oh, we can move it on the inside as well. Nice. Just boop, boop, boop. All right, more about text. You know, you can configure all of the things about the text over here in the properties panel. I have a huge list of fonts available. And yeah, like almost all of the sort of expected font properties that you need. So moving on to the next one, which is artboards. So we can create new artboards. For example, let's do an A4 page on the side of this A3 page over here, and we can do, I don't know, a letter page after that. So if you need to create multiple versions of the design, or the design spans across multiple pages, that's super simple to do with artboards. Inserting images, you know, as expected, you can choose from the camera, photos, files, cloud documents, or libraries, and that is pretty much like you would expect. We talked about the color, so this is the fill color, and this is the stroke color. Very simple to access both of these. If you want to flip them, you tap on this icon right there, and that flips the order of the colors. Now, obviously, we've seen the layers right there, and we can create a new layer by tapping on the plus over there and create groups within the layers and all that sort of stuff. The properties panel is dependent on the object that you have selected. So now that I have an artboard selected, I can change the width and the height and the position of this artboard. But if I have text selected, that'll show different options over here. And same with any shape or path, there's going to be different options shown. Moving on to precision, that's going to allow us to turn on snapping, snapping to grid or snapping to smart guides. And those are, you know, if you're moving towards the middle of the page, it's going to snap towards the middle, and same with the vertical direction there, it's going to snap in each point there. And if I create, for example, two of these objects and want to place them exactly so they meet, this is the smart guides, right? They're keeping them aligned in this direction and in this direction. You can also move it over here. We see now it's aligned exactly like so. Smart guides, super useful. Grid, we can turn on the grid and see pixel perfect alignment, snap to grid. So now these objects are perfectly snapped to this grid. And obviously you can configure the grid like you need, and that is pretty cool. Moving on to the next one, combine shapes. Ooh, this is super cool. Very quickly, let me just show you how freaking awesome this is. So let me just select both of these objects and tap on the combine shapes. Take a look at that. You see it? Okay, remember how this looks like, all right? Let me move this one over here and scale it down like so. Select them both and open this again. So this is showing us the result of this action. So it's a preview of what happens if we do this. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Oh, no problem. You just tap on that. Nope. Oh, that is actually what I wanted. I wanted to use the yellow one to cut out of the black one. So minus front. We want to undo it. Just tap on it again. This is, this is just absolutely fantastic. Let me now draw something like this and show you the other option over here. Let me select all of them and let's go into the shape builder. Now, as I said, I'll probably need to do a separate video about this, but the shape builder basically allows you to super quickly sort of erase areas and create shapes very quickly just by sort of scratching out what you don't want. So I don't want this, don't want that, and I don't want this, right? Don't want this. Let's get rid of that also. There we go. Now we have this beautiful looking shape created with the shape builder. Again, I have to applaud them for this. This is just super cool. Moving on to the edit menu right here. This allows us to copy and paste. We can also copy appearance. So if a specific shape has a particular appearance, you can copy that appearance and then select another path and then paste that appearance to that path. Super quickly, this one is red. Let's duplicate that, make another one. Let's make this yellow. Now I tap on this one, we do copy appearance, we tap on the other one, we do paste appearance, and now we've copied the appearance. Pretty cool. This one allows us to align, so we can select these ones and we can align them like so. We can flip them horizontally or vertically. The next one right here, we have a few options. We can expand, we can group, we can create a clipping mask. So if I select another color like so, let's select those both and we do create clipping mask. You see one is now the clipping mask for the other. So that is the clipping mask. We can create a stroke outline. So let me visualize the stroke by changing the color of it. So now we have a blue stroke, right? But let's say we want to detach the stroke. Well, we can do so by create stroke outline. And now we can select the stroke and just detach it. That is super cool. And a few other options for the path right here. If we tap on this one right there, we can cut the path, convert, and these are, you know, the same sort of options that you have over here, but this one shows all of the options that are available. Now, I know I'm going through this super quickly, but if you want to see a video about any of the topics that I cover in this video, do let me know in the comments down below what you're interested in learning about, and I'll cover that in a future video. But for now, the only thing that's left to do is look at these ones over here in the top. We have this one showing the view mode. We can look at only the outlines or the actual preview. We can go into the settings of this canvas, change things to pixels, inches, centimeters, millimeters, whatever unit that you are working with. You can set that here. There's some information about the canvas itself. And here we can go directly into the app settings, which we covered earlier in the video. We talked about this menu earlier in the video, so I'm gonna skip that for now. And I guess you probably all recognize this icon right here. This is the export. You can quickly export this to PNG. You can publish and export into any supported format, an Illustrator file, PDF, SVG, which is a vector-based format, a PNG or a PSD. And let's say that you want to import something, I don't know, directly into Procreate. So we have this thing right here, and you want to import that directly into Procreate. Well, you just do PSD, you export, and you do Procreate. It's going to say sending to Procreate, and then we simply go into Procreate. It's going to say import, and we tap on it, and there we go. We now have the object in Procreate. And obviously this is rasterized now. It's no longer vectors because Procreate doesn't support vectors. But you know, you can go ahead and add whatever flair you want to the shape with all of the Procreate brushes that you have. And on that note, if you're interested in any of the brushes or any of the resources that I use on a daily basis, then go ahead and check out www.artanddesign.tv. It's a great way to support the channel. So thank you all for supporting this channel. It allows us to make more of these kinds of videos. So that's gonna do it for this video. I want to thank you all very much for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it, if it helped you out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click that bell icon if you want to get notified whenever I release new videos. Other than that, thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.